In today's math lesson, we are going to begin working on Topic 5, Lesson 6, Solve Addition and Subtraction Word Problems. Our learning intention for today is I can solve word problems involving comparisons. So let's get started. Let's begin with our Solve and Share on page 233 in our Envisions Volume 1 workbook. Our Solve and Share says, Jose has 5 more erasers than Lois. Jose has 7 erasers. How many erasers does Lois have? Write your answers in the boxes. So let's look at the problem and see what we know. So it tells us that Jose has 7 erasers. So we can write the 7 in the box here because it tells us to write our answers in the box. So Jose has 5 more than Louis. So we need to find out how many does Lois have. So what we can do, I think I'm going to make some tally marks, and you can do this too. So we are going to make 7 tally marks. 4, 5, 6, 7, and usually I would cross out a 5, but I want to see all of them. So all 7, and we know that Jose has 5 more than Lois. So that means we would need to take away, and you can just cross out on your paper, 5 of those erasers. So I'm going to take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're left with how many tally marks? 1, 2. We're left with 2. So we had the 7 erasers that Jose has. Jose had 5 more than Lois, so we took away 5 of those erasers, and we are left with 2. So that means that Lois has 2 erasers. Now let's watch our animated video to help us follow along the top of our workbook page 234.
Steve has 13 books. Claire has 4 fewer books than Steve. How many books does Claire have? What information does the problem give you? The problem tells you that Steve has 13 books and Claire has 4 fewer books than Steve. What is the problem asking you to find? You need to find how many books Claire has.
Let's find out.
You can use a bar model to show the problem. Which part of the bar model represents how many books Steve has? Select your answer.
So now, it told us right before that Steve had 13 books total. So in the bar model, we would choose 13.
Select your answer. The 13 represents how many books Steve has. Which part of the bar model represents how many books Claire has? Select your answer.
Now we know that Steve has 13 books total, but we don't know how many books Claire has. So we would choose the question mark.
The question mark represents how many books Claire has. What does the 4 represent? The 4 represents how many fewer books Claire has than Steve. How does the bar model help you solve the problem? You can see the 13 books that Steve has. You can also see the 4 fewer books that Claire has. Since you know the whole and one part, you can find that Claire has 9 books. You can write an addition or subtraction equation to see how many books Claire has. You can subtract to find the missing part. 13 minus 4 is equal to 9. The two parts add to the whole. 4 plus 9 is equal to 13. How does an addition or subtraction equation help you solve the problem? Both of the equations show that 13 is how many books Steve has, and that he has 4 more books than Claire. You can add or subtract to find how many books Claire has. So, Claire has 9 books.
Now let's look at our Convince Me, still on page 234. Our Convince Me says Tom made 8 fewer sandcastles than Tina. Tina made 10 sandcastles. How many sandcastles did Tom make? So if Tom made 8 fewer than Tina, and Tina made 10 sandcastles. What we could do first is make 10 tally marks to show the 10 sandcastles that Tina made. You can also do dots or X's. I just like doing some tallies. So let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So now I'm going to change to my red marker. So if Tina made 10 sandcastles and Tom made 8 fewer than Tina, that means we need to take away 8 of these sandcastles. So I'm going to take my red pen and I'm going to mark through 8 of these sandcastles, because if Tom made 8 fewer than Tina and Tina made 10, it means we got to take 8 away. So I'm going to put little lines through 8 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So by crossing out 8 of these sandcastles, I'm showing the 10 that Tina made, and it says Tom made 8 fewer sandcastles, so I took 8 away. So now I am left with these 2 sandcastles. So how many sandcastles did Tom make? If he had 8 fewer than Tina, so we took away the 8, how many did Tom make? 2. There are 2 left. So for our answer, we can say Tom made 2 sandcastles. All right, my friends, now let's do our guided practice together. We're still on page 234 in our workbook. Our guided practice says use the model to solve the problem. So the model we see here is a lot like our part-whole chart that we were working with a few weeks ago. Our problem says Sal has 8 more magazines than Gemma. Sal has 15 magazines. How many magazines does Gemma have? So in our guided practice, we see they put the total number of magazines that Sal has. So in our problem, it told us that Sal has 15 magazines. And it says that he has 8 more magazines than Gemma. So in the model, they wrote the number 8 to show that 8 more magazines Sal has. Then they filled in this part that was missing. Blank plus 8 equals 15. They solved that 7 plus 8 gives us 15. So just like our part-whole chart, you take the part, and make the whole. So 8 plus 7 equals 15. So how many magazines did Gemma have? Gemma had 7 magazines. So in your independent practice, you're going to be using the model to help you complete and solve the problems. Now let's look at our independent practice on page 235. Our independent practice instructions tell us to use the models to complete the problems. Now, since these are word problems, I'm going to be reading them off for you, but then you will need to click pause on the video so that you have time to be working on them. Our first problem on our independent practice says Alan picks up 3 toys. Then he picks up 8 more. How many toys did Alan pick up in all? So what we see so far is that the information from our story problem has been put into our model. Alan picks up 3 toys, then he picks up 8 more. So we have our 2 parts. We have 3 and 8. Now we want to know, how many did Alan pick up in all? So just like in our part-whole chart, you write the total in this box at the top. So you need to find out what is 3 plus 8 and write your total at the top. We are also wanting to write our answer as an equation. So you will copy your numbers from the model. So 3 plus 8. Write your answer here and here in the blank so we can complete the statement. Alan picked up blank toys in all. So all we're doing is trying to find our total answer on number 2. 3 plus 8 equals, and then write your answer in the correct spots. And again, like I said, you will need to pause the video to work on these problems, and then whenever you press play, we'll begin talking about the next question. On number 3, it says Jack makes 5 fewer fruit cups than Sandy. Sandy makes 11 fruit cups. How many fruit cups did Jack make? So this problem is set up a little bit differently. It tells us that Jack makes 5 fewer fruit cups than Sandy, and that Sandy makes 11 total. We want to find out, how many fruit cups did Jack make? So we can see that our total number is put at the top of our model. We know that Sandy makes 11 fruit cups total. So we know that Jack makes 5 fewer fruit cups than Sandy. We know that Sandy makes 11 fruit cups total. We see that in our equation we are going to be subtracting. So we are going to need to subtract the total number of fruit cups that Sandy makes minus the 5 for the 5 fewer fruit cups that Jack makes. Then we can find our answer of how many fruit cups Jack actually made. So we need to find our missing number in the model. We know we have 11 total minus the 5 fewer cups, and we need to find how many cups Jack made. So your missing number that you will find in the model will fill in all of the blanks. They will be the same number. So think to yourself, blank plus 5 equals 11. What number plus 5 equals 11? And that will be your answer for all of the blanks. Now let's look at number 4 and number 5. If you're still working on your previous problem, you can just go ahead and pause the video now. Our directions for problems 4 and 5 tell us to fill in the missing numbers for the model and solve the equation. Choose addition or subtraction to solve, so we have to pay close attention to what they are asking us. On problem number 4, it says Harry has 5 fewer buttons than Tina. Harry has 7 buttons. How many buttons does Tina have? So we can see that they took the information from our problem and put it here into the model. We see that Harry has 7 buttons. We know that he has 5 fewer buttons than Tina. So if Harry has 5 fewer, that's the same as saying that Tina has 5 more buttons. We can see that the top part of our model is missing. We know that we always put the total in the top part of our model. So if we are missing the total, do we need to add together 7 and 5, or do we need to subtract 7 and 5? We want to know how many buttons does Tina have in all. So we need to add the 7 buttons and 5 fewer buttons. So we need to add together 7 plus 5. So we are adding together 7 plus 5, and we need to find our answer. So we'll write our answer in the top of the model and in the equation below. 7 plus 5 is equal to what number? Write it here in the blanks. Our last problem on this page says Mark calls some people. Jane calls 8 people. They called 17 people in all. How many people did Mark call? So we take the information from our problem and put it into the model. It says that Mark called some people. We don't know how many exactly. Jane called 8 people, and they called 17 people total. So we are missing one of our parts. We don't know how many people Mark called. But we know that Mark's number plus 8 would give us 17. So we're going to set up our equations together. We know we're adding. We know we have to add together the 8 that Jane called, because that was part of our whole. We don't know how many Mark called, but we know they called 17 people total. So we need to find our missing part. 8 plus what number gives us 17? Solve for this equation and write your answer in the blank for number 5. And for the last part of our lesson, we are going to be completing the problems on page 236, so just on the next page. Our directions tell us to solve the problems below. Again, these are word problems, so I'm going to read them to you, and you will need to pause the video so that you can work on them. Number 6 says, Ashlyn had some grapes. She gives 5 grapes to Anna. Now Ashlyn has 7 grapes. How many grapes did Ashlyn have before? So this one has a lot of information in it. Make sure we look at it very carefully. So it tells us that Ashlyn had some grapes. She gives 5 grapes to Anna. Now Ashlyn has 7 grapes. So she had some, she gave 5 away, and now she has 7. We are wanting to find out how many grapes did she have before she gave any away. So again, she had some, gave 5 away, and now she has 7. We want to know how many grapes total did she have before she gave any away. So since we are wanting to know how many she had before she gave any away, we are going to be adding. We want to know the total number, so we need to put the parts that we do know. We know she gave 5 away, and now she has 7, so we need to add those two numbers together. So write the numbers in the blank and add them together. You will write your answer at the end, and then in the sentence, Ashlyn had blank grapes before. So write the two numbers that we know in the blank and add them together. Then write your answer again to complete the statement. Number 7 says Lucy and Tim find 15 bottle caps together. Tim finds 7 of the bottle caps. How many of the bottle caps does Lucy find? Let's look at this again. So Lucy and Tim find 15 bottle caps together. Tim finds 7, but we want to know how many did Lucy find? So we have our total number of 15. We need to take away the 7 that Tim found because we want to know just how many Lucy found. So what should we do? Should we add or subtract? What do you think? We want to know just how many Lucy found. We are going to subtract because we do not want to know how many of them Tim finds. We want to know how many Lucy finds. So take our total number, the 15 bottle caps that they found, subtract the number that Tim found, and write your answer in the blanks. So 15 bottle caps minus 7 bottle caps equals what number? Write your answer in the blanks. On number 8, it wants you to draw a model to show the equation. Then write and solve the equation. Our equation is 16 minus 10 equals question mark. To draw an example of a model, you can draw one that looks like a part-whole chart, where you draw a square, cut it in half, then write a total box, or you can draw a model like here on number 9. It's up to you. Then use our equation 16 minus 10 equals blank to fill in the model and solve our equation. We're solving for 16 minus 10. So in your model, where does your total go? At the top. Where do your parts go? In these sections. Look at the equation and determine which is your whole, which is your part, and what are you missing? Again, you can draw a model like the one I drew here, or if you want to draw a different one, like the model on number 9, you can also do that. So solve for 16 minus 10. Use your model to help you. And for our last problem, it says Tanner has 3 more pets than Ava. Tanner has 7 pets. How many pets does Ava have? Use the model to solve the problem. So we are missing a part of the model. What number plus 3 equals 7? Write the number that is missing in the model. Blank plus 7, blank plus 3 equals 7. Our equation is going to look a little bit different. We know that Tanner has a total of 7 pets, and we know that he has 3 more than Ava. Saying Tanner has 3 more than Ava is the same as saying Ava has 3 less. So our equation would show 7 minus 3 equals blank. So where I'm drawing these blanks, they are all going to have the same number. Your missing part in the model, your missing part in the equation, and your final answer will all be the same. If you need more time to solve any of your problems, again, you can pause the video or rewind the video at any time. That is going to be the end of our math video today. If you have any questions at all about this new lesson, please let me know. Make sure you're working on Imagine Math so you can help build your math skills. I'll see you later.